Finding your best palette of colours. Well, that's Hannah's struggle today. She says that I struggle with that I have a neutral, cool olive skin with some depth, some softness and some brightness and lightness, which makes it really confusing as I feel like I can almost pull off any colour season. I find that bright colours make me look healthy but kind of overwhelm me, but other colours can look a bit dull on me. I seem to suit cool and bright colours, yet my hair goes warm in the sun and I tan easily. But extremely warm colours clash with my colouring. True summer looks good on me, but still it can look a bit plain, like I'm missing something. There's also so many sub-seasons and different colour systems that it gets really confusing. And this is so true. It's the reason why I developed my 18 palette absolute colour system, and that is because there are so many issues, I think, with the seasonal systems. They have kind of developed out of 4 different seasons and they've tried to expand them out, but they're actually still missing some palettes, and also too don't have enough variation for the variation in skin tones. So therefore sometimes you may be in between 2 different palettes. So there's a few little things in here that I want to address. So one of the things is you talk about your skin tone. Now, the thing is skin is just one part of our color analysis. We also need to take into consideration the depth of your hair color. Skin gives you undertone, but it doesn't give you depth. It doesn't give you your value. Value is just the technical word for how light or dark a color is. Hair gives you that value. So if you have light hair, you'll suit a lighter palette. If you have dark hair, you'll suit a darker palette. It also does not take into consideration how you put your clothes together. And this too is really important. And this comes down to value contrast. So the difference between how light and dark different elements are on your face, your eyebrows, your eyes, your hair, and your skin. So what is the lightest element? What is the darkest element? And putting things together in that sort of combination. It also doesn't take into consideration your color contrast, and that is how many colors you have within you in your natural coloring. And so therefore that's also how we put colors together. So if you're feeling bland, it could be because even though you might be wearing the right kind of colors, the right undertone, the right intensity, the right value, you're not putting them together in a way that's actually really in harmony with you. So one of the things I just wanted to quickly show you is when we're thinking about different palettes, and this is where, you might say these bright colors, they're great, but I see them before I see my face. And so the bright colors can brighten us up, but if they overwhelm us, which as you mentioned, I'd say, well, that is then too bright. So when we think about this spectrum of intensity, so color analysis, we're looking at 3 different properties. We're looking at the intensity or the saturation, how bright to how grayed down the color is. We've got really muted colors, we've got really bright colors, and we've got ones in between. We then are looking also at our value, so how light or dark a color is. So therefore really, really light pastels all the way down to like really, really dark, jewel tones that have got a lot of black, a lot of intensity to them. And then we also have the undertone. So we've got the really, really cool on one end, we've got the really, really warm on the other end, but we do also have colors in between. And this is where there are there's a lot of people who sit in this point, and this is where a lot of the systems do not have those palettes that sit closer to that warm and cool divide. So understanding that nothing is necessarily extreme on you. You may not be an extreme person. You may be closer to the middle on all these things, which is why you find those seasonal systems are lacking. So for example, if we look here, we've got a very bright palette. And here I have a much more muted palette. You can really see the difference. Now, on camera, things don't show up quite as easily as you can see them in person. But there's also another palette in between, and this is not really, really muted. So these really muted colors may be too drab for you. And the really bright palette may be too bright for you. But we also have something in between. It's like stepping stones in between. And this is one of the issues with many of the systems, that there aren't those stepping stones. And that's why I developed my system, to give you those stepping stones so that you are not stuck going, do I go really bright or do I go really muted because I don't know what else there is. Talking to about that you tan easily and your hair goes warm in the sun. This is really, really normal. And it's because tanning has got nothing to do with undertone. There are people who are redheads with very, white skin who burn really easily. They don't tan. And there are cool people who tan very easily. So tanning, 0 to do with undertone. There is warm melanin and a cool sort of melanin. You will tan with the melanin that you have in your skin tone. So tanning, irrelevant. Hair coloring, all hair has underlying warm pigments. So if you're a light blonde, you'll have a yellow pigment. If you're a medium blonde, you'll have a yellow-orange pigment. If you're a light brown, you'll have, or a dark blonde, you'll have a orange, kind of yellow-orange, orange pigment. And then as we go down to the browns, we've got orange-red, and eventually we get down to a red pigment. And it's only the true blacks that have a blue pigment, and the true people who are white who have zero pigment left, and that's why we have white hair. So when we are thinking about this, the sun bleaches. So we know it can bleach our washing if we leave it on the line for too long and takes the color out. Well, it also bleaches your hair. And what it does is it takes off the pigment on the outer coating of your hair, and it exposes the warm pigments that are underneath. So it doesn't matter whether you're warm or cool, you have warm pigments as an underlying pigment inside your hair. And whether it's the sun bleaching it or chemical bleach, if you dye your hair, the way all hair dyes work is they strip off the color that you have, exposing those pigments, then lay down color on the top. And this is why it's very hard to get cooler blondes and why hair often goes brassy, because hair dye exposes those pigments. Plus, so the heat tools, if you're using those to dry your hair, and some chlorine and things like that in the water can also expose those pigments. So especially as your hair has been out in the sun for longer, those warm pigments will be exposed. That's just normal. So this is why I always recommend, if you've got brown hair, look for a brunette or a blue shampoo and conditioner. If you're more blonde or grey like I am, go for a purple or violet, or sometimes they call it a silver shampoo and conditioner. Now, it's not actually silver, it's a bright violet color, and it can look really intense, but what it does is it helps to neutralize those warm pigments that are naturally occurring in your hair color. So if you feel like your hair's going brassy, go and chat to your hairdresser, but you can go and buy, violet or blonde shampoos or brunette shampoos, which are blue, and that's going to keep that warm tone out. So of course that your hair then matches more with your skin, which is a really important thing that it does. So this is why, if you are, say, you've got the right palette of colors, but you're still feeling a bit bland, look at your ideal value, look at your color contrast, and look at your value contrast. These are all really important things to understand. They're things I go through all my, in every color analysis. It's something I go through with my clients, and everything I train. All the people I've trained in the absolute color system, they all understand this too, and they go through their, these things with their clients too. But sadly, a lot of the color analyses out there, where they just do a quick season, they give you a palette, they are not explaining to you how to wear your colors. And this is actually just as important as getting the right palette, because this is where I discovered this early on, where I'd put on an outfit and I think, why is this not working for me? It's my palette. I should look amazing, and I'm not looking amazing. It's because I learned, I was standing there looking in the mirror going, what is it about me that's not fitting with these colors? And I started to realize that even though they were the right undertone and the right intensity, I didn't have the correct value or the value contrast or the color contrast in my outfit, and that's why it wasn't looking as good as it could possibly look. So this is why a color analysis is more than just getting a palette. It's why the AI tools, they don't really work anyway. I've tried them out. I was told I was a bright spring. But and I am so not a bright spring, but also too is because they're not giving you the really valuable information you need to actually put your colors together in a way that's in harmony with you. And this is what we're always looking for, that you might get a generic palette. Here's a generic palette, but then what we do is we want to get you your signature colors, which is your very best colors out of here. And then we want to tell you how to put your colors together in a way that is in harmony and balance with you. So I know lots of people have questions about color and color analysis and how it all works. And then I do online color analysis, plus also in my 7 Steps to Style program, we also do that as well, and give you your value and color contrast and all those sorts of things that you really need to know. Because it makes such a big difference when you're actually putting your outfits together to understand what combinations are really going to make you shine, and why some clothes that you've got in your wardrobe that even though they may be in your palette, just don't look as good as they possibly could. But really, color is the first place I go. Whenever I'm shopping with a client or shopping for myself, if the color is not right, it doesn't matter how great the style of the garment is, it's never going to make me look good, because it's going to wash me out. It's going to not work for me, or it's going to wear me rather than me wearing the garment. So if you're interested in color, I do have links in my bio if you're interested in getting your palette and really understanding what works for you. And of course, too, you get that also as part of my 7 Steps to Style program, which has the full style and color and wardrobing and shopping and everything you need to know to get a really full style education so you can actually make the best choices. As I say, the most sustainable thing you can do for fashion is actually to get an education in style and understand what works for you, because then you are not wasting money on clothes that you don't wear that end up as landfill or as wastage somewhere else. We're not turning our clothes into a problem. We're actually becoming really conscious and discerning shoppers. So when we buy well, and we buy things we're going to wear for a long time. And so that is a great thing, and it is great for our planet as well. Thank you so much for watching. It's been lovely to have you here. Bye for now.